Good morning and welcome to the program Perspectives on Invicta 98.9. This morning we'll be talking about issues coming out of Kaduna State. Only recently we had very, 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 uh, very difficult for some of us to take. And of course, I'm sure that all of you out there were sympathetic to the issues of insecurity in the southern part of Kaduna. And so we want to look at the reconciliatory aspect of it, reconciling, warring factions, and of course, making southern Kaduna a place, that we can live as brothers and sisters. We recall, the effort of the state government in this matter. Governor Nasser El-Rufai had at one time called the people of this zone to, make sure that peace reigns in this place. And for peace to reign, development will come. And of course, good settlements would also, come in. But again, where we have a situation where lives are not safe, where, people would just wake up and again what they see is bloodletting. This is an issue. And it has gained international attention as we talk with you this morning. Not only national, it has gone international. But what are we understanding about why this situation persists and why we may just be far from, attending to the issues of insecurity in the southern part of Kaduna? That's going to be the program perspectives today, reconciling or the warring factions, and of course finding peace in the southern part of Kaduna. Insecurity is not, for one zone alone. It is a national issue. It is, matter of fact, an international issue, and efforts have been made to see that the world is at peace. The country is at peace, and of course the states to be at peace too. But what, efforts are we putting to find peace in this area? My guest on the program this morning is Yusuf Goje. He is of the Coalition of Association for Leadership, Peace, Empowerment and Development. He is my guest on the program this morning. Malam Yusuf Goje, good morning and glad to have you here with us.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
All right. Well, again, coming into matters of finding solutions on reconciling the warring factions in the southern part of Kaduna State. It is an issue that has been with us, not with this administration. It had long been with us, in the state. And every day we keep, looking at ways to, come about it. Peace commissions have been put in place. Stakeholders have, meetings have been held with stakeholders. And for Tuesday, we had Malam Nasser El-Rufai addressing a high-powered, committee to look at the issue. And things were drawn out from this meeting on how we can find solutions to the problem of insecurity in the southern part of Kaduna. For you, a general overview about why we keep having, not only it has gone beyond skirmishes now, but why southern Kaduna would not be allowed to have peace. And then that's talking about the herdsmen, they've been identified as people who just come in and murder sleep, so to say, in that part of the state.
Thank you very much, Ogatoyi. I think this is a very sad moment for all of us, for the fact that we are losing souls, we are losing lives, not to talk about the economic consequences of of lack of peace. Southern Kaduna is known for its rich agricultural heritage. And as a result of insecurity, we can't have that vibrancy anymore. And it also tells on food security. So it is sad for the lives we are losing. It is sad for the growth of our economy as a state and Nigeria. But generally, the crisis in southern Kaduna, or the conflict, or the killings, or no matter how you define it, has also been there for a very, very long time. And it is one situation that we need to really dig deep, not looking for quick win kind of solutions, but solutions that really address the root causes of these issues. And that is why we have to go historical to know where we have got it wrong from the beginning and coming back to address it. But again, we cannot take it away from global realities of today. Reasons being that all over the world we have seen increased spread of radicalism and expansion of most of these radical groups into new territories, trying to establish territories and what have you. And again, you can also take it away from the Lake Chad Basin, which provides water to about 20 to 30 million people within the Lake Chad area, Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, and what have you. And you know that that basin, the Lake Chad Basin, has shrunk by 90%. And the implication is this: you have mass migration of people within those areas to new areas where they can get arable lands and what have you. So there's that pressure of migration from most of these groups into Nigeria, considering that, again, that region has been a habitat for a lot of radical groups that we've seen crises around Mali, we've seen the Libyan crisis. These are the roots that we see. And most of these people are finding their ways into Nigeria, and not only into Nigeria, but into areas that have very good vegetation, very good lands in terms of expansion and what have you. So you have different dimensions to this crisis. And I also want to also bring another national dimension to it. I was very worried in 2015 when we chased out Boko Haram out of Sambisa. Sambisa is a very, very large, massive piece of land, forest, as you know. It covers a lot of areas in Borno, Yobe, Gombe, Bauchi, some parts of Jigawa, and even some parts of Kano. So the question is, when we dispersed Boko Haram from Sambisa forest, where we can't condone that large expense of land. So probably some might have dispersed and have gotten into interlands and communities and have resettled, and they are reorganizing to do so. But these are my hypotheses that I think the government needs to look beyond the also ethnic and religious dimension, because that is also the coloration that the crisis has taken over the years, and you can't still take it away from that. It also has its historical lineage, because the average Southern Kaduna man historically has always wanted to be away from the northern part of Kaduna State. The struggle started in the 50s when they joined the Middle Belt to want to create the Middle Belt region. As far back as 1974, they had put forth a request for Gurara State, and that has been consistent down to 2014, the confab. So you know that already that suspicion has been there, and a number of crises have not helped issues in terms of the religious coloration and ethnic coloration of this crisis. And the first major one was the 1992 Zangwankata crisis. Then I know there was 87 Kafanchan crisis, but 1992 was was very bad, that it really polarized the state. Then down to Sharia crisis, which further polarized the state. Then the 2011 post-presidential election also deepened that ethno-religious mutual suspicion and what have you. So the government, I think, has a very critical role to play in all of this. My reasons is this. Community, yes, I agree with those that have argued that the community must step forth to also take the responsibility of ensuring peace. But the community cannot step forth until they see leadership from the government to say, okay, the kind of leadership that will first define the crisis, because we have not yet adequately defined what the crisis is. If it's a communal crisis, then who are the communal people that have say? Have we brought them together? If we have brought them together, has it solved the problem? If it has not solved the problem, then probably the problem might be beyond communal clash. If it's criminal, if it's insecurity, then what has our security apparatus done to address the criminality angle of it? Because the sophistication with which we see some of this attack goes beyond communal clash. Because my own idea of communal clash is that to a large extent there's balance of force. When I'm using bow and arrow, you're using bow and arrow, then there's that level of, but when you see the level of sophistication, then the pattern of how the killings happen, then you know it's far deeper than just a mere one community and the other fighting over a piece of land and what have you. So I think the government needs to comfort, reasons being that, one, there's a constitutional responsibility on the government to ensure that there is the security of lives and properties in every part of Nigeria. And it is in that recognition that we continue to see budgetary allocations for that purpose. I checked the revised budget of the Ministry of Defense. It's close to 1 trillion naira, about 899 billion naira. Then you come down to also like states like Kaduna. Kaduna, our security votes for last year was about 1.7 billion. This year is around 1 billion naira. But the total budget for the Internal Security Ministry is getting to close to over 3 billion naira. And these are monies meant for intelligence gathering. These are monies meant for operations in conflict areas. So these are the issues that we need to really hold the government accountable, to say, yes, we know communities have a role to play, but the Constitution has given you a responsibility, and budgetary allocations are being met for you to actually carry out this responsibility. So we need to see more of intelligence gathering around what is happening in addressing, first, the criminal element of it, then second, begin to look at creating dialogue platforms where the warring factions, where they exist and have been identified, can be brought and they can have genuine reconciliation. But in achieving that, government must also be able to be seen, and to be seen acting as neutral in the conflict.
I want to take you still on with the constitutional responsibility of government, and that's protecting lives and property. And so that puts government in a tight corner, because it must be seen to be doing this. And again, this suspicion of mutual suspicion that we have, communities might have living with with the neighbors, or those that have come to settle with them. So that puts government in a very, very tight corner. And here is the question I ask about this. Government cannot in any way be supportive of one faction against the other. It must stand, for government to work and for governance to work, it must be able to stand. But, this suspicion into the way we live, and this crisis or fight that we're talking about dates back to, the 50s and all of that. Can we ever, take away the suspicion, and how do we do that?
Yes, let me quote Martin Luther King. He said, peace is not the absence of conflict, but the prevalence of justice. So, in a system where you have justice, people will not resort to self-help. People will not resort to self-help, because they know there are institutions and there are governments, people manning those institutions would be neutral. And when they bring their grievances, you have mechanisms that would resolve those grievances. But when people don't have confidence that when we put forth our issues, we have a neutral arbiter, if I'll use that word, that would dispense justice in a way that everybody will go away knowing that, yes, justice has been served. So it is critical that we have a system, a governance system that is able to demonstrate in practice, not in rhetorics, that we can offer justice to any warring faction or whatever the crisis, because I always insist there's also the criminal aspect of this crisis, where with the manner with which this attacks. So we have to deal with the criminal part, which is the constitutional responsibility of the government. Then government, after demonstrating neutrality, would now have the confidence, and the warring factions or communities or parties in conflict will have the confidence to sit on the table, knowing that at the end of the day we would have this justice. So, and that is why it is deep-rooted. We have seen issues of settler, indigenous, and what have you, has been reoccurring for it's not only in southern Kaduna, because in southern Kaduna, the Fulani community have always complained about being marginalized and what have you. Well, they have their facts and figures. Then if you also go to the northern part of Kaduna, you go to Soba, you go to Kudan, you go to Makarfi, you have other minority Christian communities also living there. They have their own grievances. I read a lot of the materials from the Peace and Reconciliation Commission, reconciliation platform that Yakowa created in 2012. I had the opportunity of reading most of the memos sent by the communities, and I saw those ones from Soba, from Kudan, from Kubau, complaining that they are also marginalized, and even in 2011, they were also killed and what have you. So you have these issues across the state, and that is why whether it is in southern Kaduna, whether it is in northern Kaduna, the government should be seen to be neutral. It is critical that government is seen to be neutral because they are the ones at the center. They are the referee. Forgive me for using that word, referee, because war is not a game. It is an issue of life. But they are supposed to be the referee that at the end of the day, whoever emerges out of that conflict knows that, yes, I have gotten justice out of it. So it is across the state. It is not only reserved for the Fulanis in southern Kaduna or those in northern Kaduna. It is across the states where we have people that are not happy with situations. They are marginalized by virtue of their ethnicity, of their religion. And that is why the government must provide platform. And I'm happy that the government proactively created the Peace Commission. In that regard, the Peace Commission can begin to take its initiatives. They have set up committees and what have you. But those initiatives can only work when people perceive that they will find justice.
But rule of law is being put into all of this too, that people must, obey the rule of law. And that can help in building bridges, and for peace to reign in that area. Do you suspect that even the rule of law might not play out well here?
Yes, that's because the essence of rule of law is also to ensure justice, fairness, and equity for everyone. That is the essence of the rule of law. And the man was not made for the law. The law was made for man. So we cannot trade places and say, no, it is the rule of law. We have to factor in the realities on ground. Rule of law might not factor in the historical background to this crisis. Rule of law might just say punish this one, acquit this one, but it doesn't really solve the underlying issues that is ensuring that this crisis is festering. And it is also critical that communities, because communities must also rise up to also ensure not to begin to fight and what have you, but around preventive measures, intelligence gathering. Because if we don't begin to really escalate these early warning signs, you understand, we cannot nip these conflicts in the bud. Recently, something happened around in Kaura local government where community members did a press release, a group did a press release that they had noticed movement around the mountains and what have you. For me, I think that was encouraging. That was really encouraging because it shows that communities are really, really taking ownership. And again, although it had its downside, because when you come and do press conference, probably the people might hear what you have said and know that they will come for them and run away before security men would come. But it also goes back to the government. Can we quietly give government intelligence and they act on it without coming to do press release? Because when you do press release, they already know that this is. So government needs to really build that trust, that confidence, so that wherever I have an intelligence around things, because it's not only in southern Kaduna, it's expanding. January recently, behind January, people were kidnapped and what have you. And that is how it starts. That is how it starts. You go to the Kakao area, somebody was just murdered, his family kidnapped. These are not just petty criminals. These are people that really understand what they are doing, are prepared for what they are doing, looking at the tactics and manner in which they carry out these operations. So it is even beyond Southern Kaduna, but it is instructive that we focus on Southern Kaduna, looking at our history. Whatever happens in Southern Kaduna as regards conflicts has a way of spilling over to other parts of the state, historically. So we need to see that all hands are on deck. Government, yes, who must take leadership. I must emphasize, because that is why we gathered and give government the mandate. We elected President Buhari. One of the reasons why we did that was to address insecurity. That is one of the reasons. I remember in 2014 in Lagos, he was talking with young people and he was narrating to them how he quelled the Metatide crisis. He said all he had to do was to travel to Adamawa and quench it, and the crisis ended. It showed that there was the commitment to end it. So also during Shagari, when he was a major general, he led the troops that cleared out the Chadian rebels that were causing problems in Nigeria. In fact, he had to chase them into Chad to show his commitment. President Shagari told him to come back into Nigeria. He even disobeyed. History has recorded it. It took Lieutenant General Jallo and Ushishi to order him back to Nigeria, and it strengthened their relationship because he felt that we needed to clear these people so that they don't come back and do more harm. So it shows that we need to see that kind of commitment, that kind of political will in fighting this crisis. If we have people lurking in our forests, having camps, using sophisticated weapons, then we must tell ourselves the truth that this crisis is going beyond communal clashes. It is probably that we are under attack as a nation. We know what the governor of Kano recently said about our borders, how people infiltrate and they come in with different kind of sophisticated weapons and what have you. So we need to see the president take leadership first at the federal level because we have the resources. But we need to nip it in the bud.
Again, I come, looking still with Southern Kaduna, the presence of, security in that area. One would have thought too that he could have done a lot, to see that peace reigns in this area with the army, Air Force, even the mobile, stations that we have there, mobile troop stations that we have there, and yet. People coming in, that's talking about if we have to say criminals now would come in and, perpetrate this act of wickedness, so to say, and bloodletting, and they again disappear into thin air, and with no report, coming in again for the responsibility of citizens to security in the state may come in here, and how much even the security presence has done to bring, peace, relative peace to that area.
Yes, you see, the reality we must tell ourselves, you cannot use force to get durable peace. You can't use force to get peace. You can only use peace to get peace. So the security agencies have a role to ensure that there is peacekeeping. But in terms of durable peace, it is these warring factions that would come together and agree that we want to live in peace. Go and look at the history of all great battles. It ended on the table, where the two factions sit and agree that it is enough. And that is the point that we need to take it. But before we take it, we need to stop the killings. And that means that deploying security does not mean they should come and put checkpoints on our streets, on highways, sorry. That is not the security we are looking out for. We are looking out for a kind of security system that would use intelligence to identify, one, where are the camps of this, whoever is perpetrating this crisis. Go after them. Don't wait till they attack. Then we now come and react. We need to be proactive in flushing whoever is carrying out this. Then on the higher level, let's look at who are the people that are benefiting from this crisis politically, economically, and socially. Because they are the people behind the scene that are pushing that are faceless too, but probably are in high places. We need to also know who they are then the intelligence should go after them. Because one thing we must tell ourselves, crisis will continue to fester. Reasons being that globally, the most lucrative businesses you see around is weapons and drugs. And the only way weapons and drugs can sell is where there is conflict or crisis or there is banditry. So it means that the level of intelligence we need to put into this is actually high. We cannot continue to justify the killing of, even if it's one person. Even if it's one person, there's no justification for why somebody should come and be butchered. And unfortunately, we see babies being killed. We see people at their 80s and 70s being killed. These are defenseless people. So you can't say it's a clash for me because they are defenseless. They are not the ones fighting and what have you. So we need to see a situation whereby our security apparatus is being proactive. Where are these people? Kaduna State purchased area surveillance facilities and what have you. What 1.24 billion naira last year? What are we using to gather intelligence with this technology? You understand? It is still, the drones and what have you, is still in our 2020 budget that we tend to buy. What are we using this to gather intelligence so that our security apparatus will go after these people? Whatever they do with them, let them do with them in the bushes. Then the government can now come in and begin to talk about genuine dialogue, genuine reconciliation by being a neutral judge in the situation. Is not to buy into one narrative or the other narrative. No, everybody has his own narrative of the crisis. But who comes at the center to really bring everybody to the table to really resolve this conflict? So I am worried that when we say, no, the community, yes, the community has a role, which is intelligence gathering and what have you. We've seen situations where people will say, we called security people, but they either tell us they don't have fuel in their cars or the place is not accessible. We hear those situations. So it means that rather than wait, because we know that the terrain is not favorable, why don't we now do proactive attacks to these camps or proactive arrest of people who we feel are conspiring to promote this cycle of violence? So we need to see that level of proactiveness that will give us, the citizens, confidence, that will give the communities confidence to say, yes, we must join the government in ensuring that there is peace. Because without peace, you cannot have development. And Kaduna State, again, we have seen the infrastructural development happening. And these things will only make sense, will only make meaning, will only give us the economic dividends if there is peace. And let's also understand that this crisis has impact on even our revenue as a state. Our debt profile is about 248 billion naira in Kaduna State, for example. How do we pay that over years? If we are destroying the economic structures that we have at the community level, these community people feed us in the cities. They do the farming, we do the eating. So if we allow rural economies to die off as a result of this persistent conflict or crisis, then we have more problems. And if we also allow it to fester, then the stability of the state itself and the nation, because also understand the strategic position of Kaduna State in Nigeria. If Kaduna State sneezes, as they say, Nigeria will catch cold, because everybody has that mindset of Kaduna State is polarized along Christians and Muslims, along minorities and majority ethnic group and what have you. And that suspicion is there. That tension has been there. Yes, we have masked it, we have done whatever, but the tension is there. A lot of people still carry bitterness of years of conflict because they have lost loved ones. They have lost sources of livelihood. That bitterness is there in them. They are just waiting for the slightest provocation to vent their anger. So these are things that we should prevent. And it is a holistic approach from the level one of government, ensure that government is fair, equitable, and just in the distribution of whatever it is. Because you can't isolate crisis from political, economic, and social factors. I remember my lecturer once gave us one assignment around when we were doing the history of jihad. With Madam Fodio, he asked the question, was the jihad a political, economic, or a religious war? Discuss. So, but at the end of that analysis, what we got to understand is that every conflict has more than one side to it. Some are doing it for the religious reasons, some are doing it for the economic reasons, some are doing it for the political reasons. So that is why government's approach has to be holistic to addressing it. So it's not a one-way narration where we just say, oh, this is, there are other underlying factors that continue to increase the flame of this crisis, and those are the things that we need to see the government address, while the communities on their part should go through the path of peace, looking at first exhausting all judicial processes, all legal processes in whenever they have been offended. But if the government continues to fail, it encourages communities to seek for self-help.
Okay, we're still with the program perspectives this morning and talking about reconciling the warring factions and, of course, finding peace in this zone. That's talking about Southern Kaduna Zone. All concerned about it, and, of course, what government is doing and how much government can still do with what it is doing. Yusuf Goje of the Coalition of Association of Leadership, Peace, Empowerment and Development, my guest on the program this morning. We'll go for a break. When we come back, we'll look at other issues too. Welcome back. It's the program Perspectives this morning, and we're looking at reconciling with the warring factions in the southern part of Kaduna State. We all do know that without peace, development cannot come in, and of course, man's existence too would be threatened. And as some people would say, we can be who we are if we choose to be who we want to be. And that's, again, what, the narratives that may come into the crisis that we're having in this area. Worrisome as it is, been taken to national and international level. Yusuf Goje, and again, worried about interpretations that have been put into this crisis. And, of course, how it affects, finding lasting solutions to it. One area of concern would be the new media and what it is doing to this to this crisis. Everybody has turned to be, a journalist and an analyst. And so the interpretations that we put into this, even far from what the situation is, how, it's affecting us with finding lasting solutions in this crisis, in this area.
Yes, I think this also takes back the previous arguments of where a lot of civil society rejected around regulating social media engagements. Yes, for me, I think we can use the social media more responsibly. Reasons being that what we seek out for is resolution of this crisis, because social media has given a lot of people voice. And again, it has its good sides, because when there is anger, when there is bitterness, and it is trapped inside of you, it usually explodes into violence. But when you have means of expressing your anger, it also helps in dousing down the tension and even the virus. So it's both sides. So, but critically is that people must be more responsible. Yes, people are angry, people are bitter, but we need to also watch how and what we post on social media, because crisis is a scenario where you don't know where next it will hit. It might consume you. You on social media, you don't know where it will meet you. So fanning the embers of it is not advisable, and I discourage it. But again, if we had a system that has you have systems that people can go and get justice, they will not go to social media crying out. People feel that probably they are not getting the kind of protection they need. Probably they feel that there's injustice towards them. And even if they go to the government, they won't get justice. And that is why they come on social media to really push it out, so that the world can also come to their plight. But even at that, we must also take responsibility for what we post on social media. It is very, 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 very important. And I think the mainstream media, radio, TV, and what have you, have a critical role in promoting behavioral change communication. You understand? Where the kind of information you put out, it would be the kind of information that would dispel rumor, that would dispel fake news. And that is a role, because people rely on you more than the social media. That's just the truth. Even though people are more on social media, but more often than not, if I want to get genuine information, I know I have to come back to the mainstream media, because you have so many people putting out a lot of media outfits on social media, so you don't know which one is genuine and which one is not. So we still come back to the mainstream media to actually get the right information. So you need to do more, probably on social media too. The mainstream media, your platforms on social media need to do more in sending out reconciliatory messages and information that would also ensure that parties are brought together, there's mediation and what have you, because we can't always be blaming and not come to that point when we come to sit down and agree that this is enough.
Also, part of it, Yusuf, is talking about utterances, utterances that we get on both sides, from the side of government and even from the side of citizens too. Such utterances and how much damage they do into, reconciling warring factions. Is this again something that we all, because utterances, I'm looking at community level, or where this, where the battleground is, that utterances that come from these areas, from stakeholders or people that would just want to put their interpretation to the crisis, can really, take this, settlement to a level where we probably would not be able to find peace. And some people would say, from government side, government has not, come up well with utterances, that we hear.
Yes, I think maybe what we need to also make reference to is the relationship, for example, of the governor with the Southern Kaduna people. And I think it is important that you have brought this. It is time that we really, really pass the message to the governor to say that in communicating around crisis, his utterances should also show neutrality and reconciliatory approach. Yes, you don't like the sociocultural group, or it doesn't matter. You're a father to all. You understand? So it is important that he watches, because the government might be doing a lot. The government might be doing a lot in quelling the Southern Kaduna crisis. But perception might be making people not to see and appreciate the effort that government is putting into it, based on maybe previous utterances that the state executive, for example, has made, or probably the kind of statement that we saw from Garba Shehu, the spokesman of the president, which wasn't really towards, what is the solution? How do we reconcile these people? Because there are people that are genuinely being affected by this crisis. They are not criminals. They are not out for reprisal attacks. And their communities are attacked and being killed. So we have to be sensitive to those people. We should not generalize and say, no, it is a criminal activity being colorated with it. No, they are genuine people that don't even care about the religion, are not even practicing Christianity or Islam. They are doing their traditional religion, living their lives, going to farm, and these people are attacked because there's a narration and all that. So I think we need to see improved communication. We must also say the government is doing efforts. We have seen efforts. We have seen the meeting yesterday. More securities are coming into Southern Kaduna. We commend the government. We want to see more of such efforts. We know they are investing in area surveillance and what have you. But we need to see the value out of these efforts. It is not just taking effort, but how do we ensure these efforts yield the desired result of bringing peace? And that means that whoever is saddled with the responsibility of leadership, be it president, governor, local government chairman, must also know that he is for all. And his disposition, his utterances should be in such a way that will bring all warring parties or factions together to reconcile. So making statements that portray people as violent or what have you on both sides, I'm not taking on any other side, because the critical thing is peace. People are dying, and that is what concerns every well-meaning Nigeria. People are dying needlessly for nothing they know about, because I see no reason why somebody that is 82 or somebody that is 3 months year old, what does that one know? Or what energy does an 82-year-old man have to go and be doing reprisal attack or attacking another community? You get, so people, it is the innocent people that are even suffering out of this. So we encourage, one, the government should show leadership in utterances. Communication is key. People don't care about the vision of the leader. They care about how the leader cares about them. So whether they are from the same political party or not, this crisis did not start with APC. During Yero, there were a group that threatened to take Yero to the ICC, International Criminal Court, because of the Southern Kaduna crisis. So it's not political. Yero was PDP, and we are seeing it in APC. So what we need now is not party. It is leadership. Leadership. In resolving this crisis, almost everything rises on and falls on leadership. At the level of the president, at the level of the governor, at the level of the local government councils, at the level of community leaders, because it is an issue that all hands must be on deck. We should look at the history of this crisis. No quick win solutions. The only quick win solutions is to stop the killings, which is the responsibility of the security agencies who are overstretched. The whole of Nigeria, our policemen are not more than 370,000. The military, the active ones, the last time I checked was about 200 and something. Then you have a reserve of 50,000 or so. So we don't have the security personnel to even man every crisis in Nigeria. In more than 33 or so states, you have military checkpoints doing one form of operations. They are overstretched. So the best way to ensure that we don't overdo ourselves as a nation is to begin to nip this crisis in the bud. We should not allow it to fester. We should not be making narratives that would allow it to fester. Then justice. People that have been genuinely offended or have been genuinely attacked and have lost loved ones and have lost their sources of livelihood, they expect justice from the government. And that is critical. Again, our local leaders at the community level must take responsibility for what is happening in their communities too, but they cannot do it alone. I know people say community leaders, but what they can do is only to sit down on the table and talk peace. But they cannot stop the killings, the cycle of killings and what have you by force. So it is the government that is responsible for that. Community leaders must always be ready to sit on the table, to dialogue, provide intelligence. When they provide intelligence, let's see the government take up this intelligence information they have gotten, then give justice. Because when I mean give justice, we ensure that the wrong people are not punished for what they don't know about, while the people that are really perpetrating these things are going scot-free. So these are the kind of things we need to see, but that is not to say that government is making its effort. It is making its effort. Some of us are seeing it, but the question we keep asking is that effort enough? They need to do more in ensuring that we bring lasting and durable peace in Southern Kaduna.
Okay, and let's go to the people now. Let's get to hear your thoughts on measures to be put in place to reconcile the warring communities and of course the factions. What are your thoughts on reconciliation in this crisis-ridden area? And numbers to call to be part of this program: 081 40,000 989, 081 40,000 989. Or 070-87-800-989, 070-87-800-989. Your calls now. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, your name, where you're calling from?
I'm Awusko from Nasarawa.
Awusko, Nasarawa. Let's hear you.
Thank you. You are doing a great job.
Thank you.
You see, why is it that It is now that we are having reprisal attack repeatedly because of the Zango Kata crisis. Why is it now? Why is it so exacerbated that people are being killed? And also, I want to ask, the governor should know that he's the father of all, and he should be seen to be impartial. But the combative approach of his method will not work. I want him to show leadership skill. As a Harvard-trained leader, he should bring all parties and bring peace. Peace cannot be enforced by utterances like that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Awusko, thank you. We'll take another call. Don't forget, we're talking about thoughts on reconciliation here. Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Alabi.
Good morning.
Good morning to your guest.
Good morning, sir.
You're also Engineer Manuel.
Quickly, Engineer Manuel.
I think your guests have done justice to the topic. It's rather unfortunate. And I was so disappointed by the army, the report they gave us yesterday.
Engineer Emmanuel, I'm talking about, your thoughts on reconciling the warring factors.
I'm putting my thoughts, and then I will
No, I don't have the time. I'm sorry, I don't have the time. So quickly, just get at it.
Okay,
Yes.
I think let's start with those that have been perpetrating this evil act. I think keep on saying, have they know any arrest of these people? Because I believe there may be people that are sponsoring this thing. Let us start from those people, arrest them, prosecute them, and let the full wrath of the law, and let there be fairness in whatsoever justice that they are passing. Because you cannot go and arrest an innocent person, and the person, just like your guest say, and the person that perpetrated that evil will go scot-free. There will not be justice there. But if you get the real culprit and let the full wrath come upon him, then I think that is where we'll begin to get justice. Because
Okay,
they cannot smoke without fire.
All right, Engineer Emmanuel. I'll just take one more call and then come back to my guest to round it all up for us. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Victor.
Good morning.
And good morning to our guest.
Yes, your name?
My name is Mike Baba from Romy.
Mike Baba, quickly.
Honestly, your guest has really buttressed the issues. And he has done so well that I only need to say more grace to his elbow. But I will have to add here that, honestly, the traditional rulers or our community leaders should be carried along. Because if they organize tours that will take them around their domains at least twice in a month, they can be able to know the flash points. And the moment the security people are around, they can take a lead, show them areas that are prone areas, than to just go there and maybe bypass the traditional ruler or community leader and go into the bush without knowing the news and cranny. Believe me, that will not help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike Baba. I'd like to, thank each one of you. That's our listeners who have called in, because your thoughts here are part of what our guest, Yusuf Goje, had talked on. But Yusuf, I'd just like you to use all of this to round it up for us.
Well, the major thing is to call for peace, because that is the whole essence. And for that to happen, we call on community leaders to take responsibilities on all sides to ensure that they talk to their followers to seek the path of peace. To the government, yes, we acknowledge efforts are being made. It will be unfair to say government is doing nothing, but they need to do more, because for every life that is lost, we would hold the government responsible, because they swore by the Constitution to protect us. So it is critical that we see the government protect citizens, and we see that the government presents a posture that anybody that comes to meet the government will get justice. Anybody that comes to meet the government will get fairness. And that will go a long way in emboldening communities to really take the path of peace. We must all be responsible with our utterances, because it has a way of exacerbating the crisis. People that have been genuinely affected by this, government must reach out to them to also ensure that they get justice. And if there's any way they can be compensated. I know the government started compensation. They said 2011 crisis compensation. Well, they have that. So I think it should be extended. Communities have been destroyed. People have lost their livelihoods. Let's see government put resources to rebuilding these communities, providing support for these people that have been affected. It's just a confidence building kind of intervention where it will give me the enabling environment to say, okay, if the government is doing this, then I must play my part as a citizen or as a community in ensuring that we have lasting peace. It is not about trade blaming who is at fault or not. We don't want to know it. All we want to see is peace, because without peace, you cannot have meaningful development.
And that would just be about the size of it on the program Perspectives today. And we're looking at measures put in place to have peace in the southern part of Kaduna State. And sharing thoughts with us on that, Yusuf Goje has been my guest. He is of the Coalition of Association of Leadership, Peace, and Leadership, Peace, Empowerment, and Development. Yusuf Goje, thank you for coming on the program.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. Now, we'll come back with Perspectives tomorrow. We're saying that you should have a wonderful day out there. But let me thank our studio hands, Hanacho Prince, and for putting us across to you this morning. And Wisdom, thank you for putting us in the pictures. Good morning.